let's get started with our first topic, the expanding threat surface. Kevin, you have a lot of experience in this space. Why don't you get us started with an overview?
Tony, thanks. And I'm just going to tee up for the smart people that'll be coming in later in this call, just to kind of frame up what we know everybody's dealing with today. Dynamic data definitions. We constantly get asked, we are known, the actual SPI in Spirion stands for sensitive personal information. Well, what is sensitive and personal information, and how has it changed? Scott likes to say if it's powered by electricity, it likely produces personal data. But let's go ahead and look at the legal definition of personal data. Sensitive data definitions. Okay, and that's just as of, I don't know, when I pulled it off the internet, there's roughly 765 samples. And since we started this call 6 minutes ago, there's probably 3 new sensitive data definitions that are out there. It's important to understand that because the data that you may have saved 20 years ago that wasn't considered sensitive might now be highly regulated. So understanding the definition changes and the definition, the rules around those definitions change, and your liability, otherwise known as toxicity around that data, can change along with it. Go to the next slide. Here's some of the evolution of that. So pre-internet, good old-fashioned social security numbers and driver's licenses and phone numbers, street addresses, dates of births, etc. Post-internet, regular personal data now includes where I'm accessing things from, machine-readable data, IP and MAC addresses, your phone address, all that other good stuff, geolocation, GPS, log files, etc. Post-privacy regulations, GDPR being the first big one we all know, CPRA following close behind, and the dozens of other ones that Scott will take us through here in a minute. Special personal data is added on top, healthcare data, political, religious data, trade unions, gender preference, etc. So there's a host of additional things that come with that. And now we're in a post-Gen AI world, which is bringing behavioral data to the mix. What is the behavior patterns that you're taking? What preferences are you choosing? Are you demonstrating different emotional states based on how you're reacting? All that stuff can now be told by AI, which brings a whole new flavor of what personal and private data can and will be and how that's going to be leveraged. And the regulations and legislation around post-generative AI related data is all in its infancy. And the last bullet is mine, but I think you'll find that the concepts around consent have been obliterated. Did I give anybody the consent to use my Facebook post from 7 years ago? No, but it's being used in all the models that are out there. Also creating a host of challenges in copyright law and patent law, which we will save for another webinar at another time and not go into it, but has completely changed the definition of what privacy, personal, and your ownership of that data means. Next slide. Data debt. This is what I was referring to at the beginning. So now we'd like to talk about the data that you're compiling today, but all that data you've been compiling over the last 10, 20, 30 years. Again, we said it wasn't sensitive then, and maybe now it's very sensitive. And oh, by the way, you probably have managers beating on you to say, give me more data to feed these LLMs so we can have all these business insights. Just keep pouring it in and we'll be much smarter. That's what it said in the Wall Street Journal. You got to be very careful with that. The example that I'd like to use, go ahead and build the next slide, that makes it common sense for just about anybody. An example of data proliferation over there on the left, you are now joining a company. The first thing they ask you for is to fill out your I-9 form so you can get paid. When you do that, you are required to show 2 pieces of documentation, typically a passport, maybe a social security card, maybe a driver's license. And I would like to say you then go into a secure room and you photocopy that on a secure machine. You hand that over in a closed sealed envelope over to HR, which never ever happens. You take a picture of it with your phone. You then go ahead and send it to the recruiter. The recruiter then sends that off to their boss and possibly the hiring manager, who then, by the way, blind copies themselves before they send it to the senior hiring manager on the mix, which is also then copied to OneDrive. Maybe they send it to their personal email as well at home. You now have that simple, I need to start working here. Your passport information is now in 53 different locations, probably in a matter of about 15 minutes from you sending it. So data proliferates like crazy, and that sensitive data that we just defined just adds to it. So where does it go? Where it goes everywhere. It's in your email. It's on your hard drive. It's in the cloud. Go ahead and build that up, Tony. You have people migrating to the cloud. I have customers that say we have everything in the cloud, and then you say, well, including the stuff on your hard drive. They're like, well, no, that doesn't really count. And I say, well, how big is that hard drive? They say it's 1 terabyte. Oh, Okay, so maybe those should probably sort of count. So it lives everywhere, anywhere it can possibly go ahead and get. And we prove that every single day with what we do. Again, as Scott likes to say, for every two applications you believe process personal data, you'll find a third that you didn't know about.